up? What up? What up? What up? What up?
Hello.
Y'all know what it is.
Seemed like the weekend was so long.
It seemed like we was just here like 2 days ago.
It's just like I look forward to this. Monday is every day is Friday, but I always look forward to Monday. Is that a little selfish of me? Busy with B.
Be selfish. It's okay to
be a
selfish.
little selfish. And
you're supposed to look forward to Busy with B.
Busy
it's your baby.
with B. This is my baby. I'm giving birth to a lot of things.
Right.
You know, I'm working behind the scenes, giving birth. I cannot wait to premiere logos and banners and thank you guys. I just like to thank my followers and people that tune into the show and those inboxes, those DMs, just supporting your girl. I definitely hear it. I need it. You know how I want to start the show today?
How?
I want to, you know how when you ask God for something, right? You ask God for something and you never think how, you think about the positive things. You never really think about how your dream and your passion will affect others, the people you love. So, I think I would definitely like to send an apology to my family, to the people close to me, because a lot of times I want to get on here, I want to share my story, and I'm not always aware of how my story affects, those close to me. And so I apologize in advance, and I love everybody. And I'm not going to always get everything right, but I'm walking in my path, and I love you guys, and I apologize. So I wanted to do that.
That was very nice of you.
That was heavy on my heart.
That was very nice of you. I hope people out there appreciate that.
Yeah, I love you.
We love everybody.
Yeah,
we
love
spread
everybody.
love here. We spread love here.
Yes.
So as usual, we coming at you live from WLVS Listen Vision Studios, right across from Big Bag Howard University on Georgia Avenue, Uptown, D.C. If you want to call in at any point during the show, the number is 315-954-0688. We would love you guys to be a part of the show. Don't just look, engage. Come on in, man, and add your 2 cents. We would love to have you on.
Drizzy, you hear that? Because I think on the screen I see 314. So we want to make sure you guys know 315.
I might have put the number wrong. Is it 315 or 314?
It's 315-954-0688. You guys do not hesitate to call in today. We have a great...
I thought it was me.
No, it wasn't you. Yes. So 315, he got that fixed. And how was your weekend, Boots?
It was good. We had a lot of people were talking about the whole Kanye and Trump thing and all that good stuff. What'd you think about that?
Honestly,
I wanted to get right into that.
You know what? I'm gonna focus on mental health. I think a lot of people are so hard and so quick to judge. He's already said that he has issues, mental issues. It's already been proven. And I think I will always believe he's a genius. I think right now he's
a musical genius or a genius.
He's a musical genius. He's not afraid. I'm not judgmental, but what I will say is that he has issues. Let's not beat him down. I think if you really listen to some of the things he say, I just think he here from another planet or something. I really think he is just a bright guy. I think he's lost right now. It could be something to do.
That all may be true, but it's some of his moves that he's made, in my opinion, are inexcusable. They just are. Now, I'm not going to be on here ripping him and throwing my middle finger up him, F Kanye and blah, 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 and all that type of stuff. However, I do think a lot of his rhetoric has been very toxic. I think it's been very toxic. Okay. And with him being such a influential person and having other young artists and other young people looking up to him to a certain degree, I think that could be very, very damaging.
A lot of things that's in the media, it's up to us to train up a child the way. A lot of things we can do ourselves. We put a lot into what we seeing on social media, what we're seeing on our TVs, and I get everything you're saying, but when someone has already spoken about their mental illness, I just feel like he's mental. That's a topic I'll stay away from, but yeah.
Well, all I got to say is that, I hope that those that are in certain positions, if they really, really, really want to talk about things like prison reform and troubles within our urban communities and anything like that, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk to the people that really got something to say. Your John Lewis's, your James Butlers, your people like that, not rappers and old football players.
That's all for
all that. Like,
I mean, we know that's all for. We know
exactly.
that's all for show.
So that's my take on that.
Yeah.
How about them Redskins, though?
How about them Redskins? I am a home.
How about them Redskins, though?
I kind of try to do the burgundy and, all that good stuff. But very excited for the Redskins. For some reason, it's like they can show up for the tough teams. The teams that, you say, oh, they not going to beat them.
Yeah.
And Redskins show up and show out. And then the teams they should win, they don't.
I gotta make sure I ask Mr. Butler who his favorite football team is.
That's
gonna go a long way.
You know what? He will get a pass as long as he don't say Dallas.
But yeah, they look. The boys look good yesterday. I really love their resiliency and how they got out to a big lead and they held on to it. They got a long way to go, man. And it's Dallas week now, so. It's big week right here. It's a real big week, and it's a big test because Dallas looked great yesterday.
I mean, Dallas. I'm just gonna say Dallas is okay. They shaky too. They in the same boat as Redskins. I mean, that's all I'm saying. But yesterday they did decent. But when they come here, they try to show up and show out. Mm-hmm. But you know what? The Redskins, they in first place. They want to keep it there. So they know how much beating Dallas means to, fans like me. So we gonna show up this weekend.
And I'm just hoping that the team can sustain some success so that fans can start coming out to the games
Come back out to the games.
So the other team peoples ain't taking over FedEx Field. Maybe they need to move the team back to D.C. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Wink, wink. Boo showing off today.
Right, ain't it though?
Yeah, he's showing off today.
But that was so far as my weekend. My weekend was great because they won. I got a chance to relax. I find myself a lot of times now on the weekend just taking time out to just chill.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that.
Especially with family, and then you got kids that play sports and work and all other kind of things. You take advantage of the times that you can just do nothing.
Do nothing.
Just lay up and do nothing.
Honey, you hear that? Lay up and do nothing.
Oh, those the best. I was just telling my wife the other day, I said, I had a good time with you today, and we ain't do nothing but lay up and watch movies.
That's how you know
chill.
you with the right person. That's
that's
a relationship talk. Maybe one day we can get wifey in the studio and talk a little bit about boots.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So that'd be nice.
Absolutely. So you want to take the quick break now and get right into it?
I'm so excited. I think we shouldn't waste much time. I do want to get right into welcoming James to the show, James Butler, and we gonna have fun today. Today gonna be a fun show. So we're gonna take a quick break. And then when we come back, we will introduce Mr. James Butler, who is running for mayor of our good old Washington, D.C. So we see y'all in a bit. Now take 2 steps to the left. Now take 2 steps to the right. Now bring it back, bring it back. Walk it like I talk it. 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 Talk it. Walk it like I 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 talk it. Take my shoes and walk a mile, something that you can't do. Big talks of the town, big boy gang moves. I like to walk around with my chain loose. She just bought a new ass, but got the same boobs. Dope scientist. That's my sauce where you find it. That's my sauce. Look at it. Adding up checks, don't mind it. Get your respect in diamonds. I bought a plain Jane roller. These niggas bought they fame. I think my back got scoliosis cause I swerved the lane. Heard you signed your life for that brand new chain. I heard think it came with
gotta stay in my zone. Say that we been beefing, dog, but you on your own. First.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and we are back, and we have Mr.
James Butler. I should say like Boots said, what up, what up, what up?
There
Y'all
you
know
go.
what it
There you
is.
go. There you go. There you go. There
I'm
you
glad
go.
to be here. Thanks for having me, B. And Boots, I really appreciate this. B told me earlier it's her first time having a politician on the show.
On the show.
So she said she was a little bit nervous, but I said I am super down to earth, so don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Thanks for having me, B. And Boots, I really appreciate this.
Sorry.
See?
Oh,
How you
boy,
doing?
I'm repeating
I was
myself.
gonna
I
say.
enjoyed it so much.
I said, what is
I'm
that?
repeating myself.
But no, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. You know, we like to have a lot of fun. We like to talk about a lot of hot topics and things of that nature. But it's also good to have guests and topics that can be very informative and get people aware of what's going on in their city and things that they can do to make a difference. And one of the things that we all can do, as we know, is to vote. A lot of the local election votings is coming up, so please get up off your seats, get up off that couch and get out there and
Vote.
and
Register.
vote. Make sure you registered. Make sure everything, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, and get out there and cast your vote, man.
Yes. Sure.
So we got a nice little laundry list of questions for you, and we wanted to dive right in with that. So we first kind of wanted to, because I'll admit, I grew up in Maryland, but I lived in Southeast DC for about 8 years of my adult life, and now I live in Montgomery County. But during my time in the city, you know, I lived right around the corner from the PD Green building. So I used to kind of get involved with some of the community things and stuff going on. So I was very interested to sit down and chat with you and talk.
I appreciate that.
Right off the top, where you from? Like, where you from? Where'd you grow up at?
No problem at all. I am child number 6 of 7 kids. Sister Grace and Elder Harris Butler. I'm the son of ministers.
Okay.
I grew up 43 years ago, was born 43 years ago on the west side of Cleveland.
Okay.
Been in D.C. approaching 20 years now. Currently live in the Trinidad part of the city where I'm an active commissioner. Lived a number of years also in the Columbia Heights neighborhood, so not too far from where we are right now. So I, in fact, went to the same high school as the famed Nobel laureate and author Toni Morrison.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely.
So
Very good.
one
Very
of
good.
my
is certainly
burning
my-
questions
Sure, go right ahead.
is, how did you really get into politics? What made you say DC? How I want to make a difference. I want to run for mayor. That's such a huge thing.
It is, and I really believe, it takes a special person to do that. Not only to have a degree of intellectual capacity to handle it, but also patience to deal with the numerous problems you have coming at you on a day-to-day basis. But also, I think it really takes a passionate person.
Definitely.
But also not being passionate about doing it. It also takes compassion. Because how do you look out for people that might not ever be able to do anything for you? How do you legitimately look out for them unless you've got a real level of compassion? And right now, I see a lot of people that are homeless in this city getting left behind. I see a lot of people looking for affordable housing, but they're getting displaced in D.C. There are a lot of issues that we have that I believe people are not currently looking at. So I believe my run has started in an unusual way. I am, by formal training, a lawyer, a civil rights attorney, and I'll get into a little bit of that later on. But I have done a lot of philanthropic and advocacy work most of my adult life. That is, from setting on boards for the homeless people to just doing in the field stuff, feeding homeless people in parks with my church, Greater Mount Calvary, a number of other organizations, and just being the son of ministers puts you in a unique position because you see that stuff from an early age.
PK.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm one of the good PKs.
I'm
just for the record, one of the good PKs. But, you know, I grew up literally living with homeless people in our house. My parents housed them, you know, and we didn't have a whole lot growing up, but I had very giving parents. And I think for me, that just kind of translated kind of organically. And then as an adolescent and adult, you know, that work. So I was, and I knew I was boxed in some kind of way when I saw homeless populations and a lot of other marginalized populations and underserved populations. And I said, what can I do more to help? So while I was still in my late 30s, I decided to run as an ANC commissioner, which is the local level of government here in D.C.
Okay.
I ran and I beat the chairman of the commission.
Okay.
So it was a very hotly contested race that unfortunately was drawn along race lines. Okay. And I ran and I won, and I'm proud to continue to serve up until December 31st, in which I hope to be sworn in 2 days later as DC's next mayor.
Okay.
So as running as a commissioner, it showed me also that my hands are a little bit tied in that if I don't have 4 more years to wait, because I believe the direction the city is going in right now, 4 years from now, we will be moving people to PG County and all other places because they're getting displaced out of DC.
I was about to ask you about that. I feel that that's happening now.
Absolutely.
And I heard you speak a lot about homeless people in homeless shelters. And I have a dilemma with I grew up in the Chesapeake Atlantic Street area of Southeast Washington.
Right.
My family is still there. And I see that they're building in the neighborhood, and they're putting a luxury apartment, and it's supposed to house homeless. It's a school right there.
Okay.
The community is like broken down, but I'm almost like that is one of the parts of the city and country that is deemed the worst neighborhood, almost like in the country. Right. And I'm just like, okay, we add on to that. It's just unheard of. I mean, that's just what I just feel that the safety of the kids, and just the safety of the neighborhood is just, I'm scared of like some of the things that I'm seeing happening. Right.
Well, we've got to work on crime and public safety a lot, because I will also say another huge factor of gentrification is when crimes are happening in black and brown areas. Black men and black women are dying in the streets. Yet you fail to police in a different way. Yet you fail to provide a safety apparatus to ensure that you reduce crime.
And the crime is definitely up.
Absolutely,
the crime is up. And just me personally can think of at least 5 people that I didn't know, like personally know. I mean, every week on social media, you're saying rest in peace, such and such. What are some of your plans?
I appreciate you asking. What we currently do now, is we use what is known as enforcement style policing. So that is where an act happens, a criminal act happens, the police come because they're caught, they put up the tape. Once it's done, they leave. They don't patrol the area any differently. So what we have is the first part of my plan is making sure that we engage in true community style policing. For example, there's a program I have that I want to roll out that's called Stop and Shake a Hand. It's a little spin on the old thing, Stop and Frisk.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Boots. And the reason why I want to do Stop and Shake a Hand, many of our communities view the police officers as not their friends. We view police officers, and rightfully so in many cases, because of the police misconduct issues, as the enemy. Mm-hmm. But that's not true with all police officers. We know we get some bad ones. So what we need to start doing is building a relationship with the police through community-style policing.
I'm thinking back to that little girl that was always afraid of the police. And me personally, I've never been in trouble, or things of that nature.
You
but
seem
again,
like you were a good kid.
Yeah, I was.
I don't know.
I try to be, but I've just always been scared of the police, just to see how they, treat my brother, or treat a family member, or just for instance, in the neighborhood, you can't just stand outside and have a conversation without police just deciding to jump out on you.
Right. That's different. So, and I understand your concern there. Police violating people's constitutional rights. Mm-hmm. That is a severe issue, one that has deeply concerned me for a number of years, not because, it happens so much, but from a baseline standpoint, being a black man in America, I don't know that cannot concern you and concern you deeply. You know, I'm not always in a suit or tie where I'm a little more acceptable in some respects. You know, when I'm going to the gym and I'm in my street clothes or whatever, I'm driving down the street. I'm like anyone else.
Yes.
Any other black man in America that's aware. And, you know, my parents having 5 boys taught us from a very early age, you've got to be aware of certain things.
You have to be aware.
But what I would really like to see is that this veneer of distrust that now exists, we've got to bridge that gap right now. And I believe the best way to do it is go back to community-style policing, where we get officer-friendly, where we get police officers actually engaging the community, coaching YBL, basketball, coaching youth baseball. Those are the sort of things that will allow us to engage more differently than we're doing now. And I believe if we do that, we will begin to erode this culture of distrust that exists now.
Do we have enough police officers, employed?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to speak on.
It's a definitely sounds good.
Let me say this. The reality is this. And I'm going to look directly in the camera, and I'm going to start over. There are no shortage of police officers in D.C. D.C. has more police officers and law enforcement officers than any other city in the world and on the planet Earth.
Okay.
So that's a myth.
And so it is a myth that we have a shortage of police officers.
Okay.
We have more police officers per capita than any other city in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, we have enough. The thing is, you can look at the number of police officers sitting in their cars, texting, or on their phones. We need to get them out and actually policing like we used to do it. New York does it. New York is one of the best examples in the country of community and actually community-style policing. I believe if we will lower our crime level, just like New York, one of the biggest cities in the world, has done it, if we follow that model. The thing is, the model we use right now is just an enforcement-style policing. And B, I hear a little skepticism in your voice, in the tonality. And I can understand that.
I am just definitely listening, and, I won't give my personal views, but, I do feel that, change, is just seeing the pattern of everything is going up. Crime is up, sexual assault is up.
Murders.
Yeah.
Homicides are up.
Violent crime.
So one thing I do know, and let me say this with regards to kind of your nonverbal responses to me, is this, that the reality is this. If we continue to do it exactly the way we're doing it and go with the same pattern, I don't anticipate homicides going down. I don't anticipate crime going down, because to do nothing is to do nothing. So my belief is, if we change our methodology of how we police, I can almost guarantee you crime will go down. Let me use a small example of what I did. In my single-member district, the epicenter it was one of the epicenters of K2 in this area, in D.C. It's known as Starburst Park, or they used to call it Scooby Park. You might know where it is. It gained that monkey-ear of Scooby Park simply because people were dying. People were constantly going into these, these drug benches of Scooby snacks, and I don't want to be crass in my terminology.
But no, that's what it was. That's what it was. They had Scooby on the
Boots
package.
right there.
Exactly, and that's right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Boots. And so the reality is, neighbors said, you'll never be able to do anything about it. And I says, yes. These people need help. What they need are people with compassion to reach out to them that have the expertise. We work with DC's Behavioral Health and Addiction Department, but yet we also work with the police force to patrol the area. I'm happy to say this, that we were able to turn what was Scooby Park into a very robust park where people can sit, and there is absolutely no drug activity, no one falling out, no one dying in the park. And I witnessed that several times. Right. The reality is, we can do that with our entire city. And we can not only do it with K2, we can also do it with homicides.
I don't understand how K2 kind of came back and became a problem, because I remember, like I said, when I lived in the city, they had a mandate that it was completely abolished. You couldn't sell it at no gas station, no corner store. And this was probably about 7 years ago. And then now, like in the last 2 years, it just kind of came back out on nowhere. So I was always mystified as how people are even getting a hold of this thing that was not too long ago illegal to sell.
Well, I'm going to be quite candid with you. I always wonder how drugs make its way into urban areas. I'm always suspicious
that's a whole
of
other
that.
conversation.
And I don't
have.
want to get into that right
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah,
I
that
always,
would hurt.
I mean, it's obviously this K2 that's being brought in from China and other parts of the world is not being brought in by the people consuming and using it and selling it. So I'm always concerned about crime, you know, and also I should say illicit drugs making its way into our communities. That's something we've really got to work on. I want to say something that's real important. This is just kind of I'm getting a little tangential here, but I'll get right back on track. I think it's very important for people to have an open mind when a new political figure comes on the scene. Sometimes you're like, oh, this person, I don't know them. They're not this, or they're not from here originally. They don't know. But you know what? Sometimes if people are given the opportunity, they can do a very, very good job. Just like if no one ever gave Marion Barry the opportunity when he came from the Delta part of Mississippi, he would have never been able to do a good job and change the district. I talked with Danny Davis. I met him at his office a few weeks back. He's the congressman that's over the Chicago district. And he talked about the hard time they gave Barack Obama when he wanted to come in to the Chicago political scene. And talked about, really, they give him a rough time. But people, I want to say this. It's so important that if you want to change something, that you not sit there and complain, but have an open mind to a viable choice. Please. Please. Because I've seen some of the questions that come in, and people don't know that I'm looking at these things. I see when they're coming in, and I want you all to have an open mind. I've got very thick skin, but at the same time, I need you to be able to listen to me and hear what I've got to say.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to take a break, or you want to keep going, or?
I mean, you know, like I said,
This one's going to go off the rails.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your candor.
I am candid as any politician. I am more candid probably than any politician you will meet. I will call people on it, and I tell people I will tell the truth if it has to cost me the election.
Yeah.
I promise you that.
On that note, we will take a break. We'll be back, and we'll be back after these messages.
Yep.
Tonight she gon' let me fuck cause we grown. I hit her, gave her back to the city, she home. That was that, so I can't be beefing with no whack nigga. Got no bad bone. Heard you living in a mansion and all your raps though. But your shit look like the trap on his Google Maps though. We been brothers since Versace Bando, whoa. Name ringing like Amigo trap phone, whoa. Used to be with Vashti and Santos, that's on Tommy Campos. We live like Sopranos, and I walk it like I talk it. 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 Walk it like I talk it.
Live life like a baby that was dead at birth, became alive and fuck the nurses. If you don't like it, tell a nigga jump. If you feeling Kermit, if you sleeping on me, we can make it permanent and leave them thinking it really permeate, it really reeking. I did call me Willie Beeman, but I'm about a team. Everybody eating, if it's down to me, I'ma do some shit niggas ain't never seen. Bitch, I jumped the three. Fashion cushion, who's fucking me? Shit to push her, who want the beat? Chop arm, leg, can't package me. Sacrificial lamb, satisfactory. Smack her with the hand, don't talk back to me. I'ma be the man, I'ma kill a king. I done been a fans, now I need wings. I done see your head, Lord. Now it's smoking with the best.
You're a stain now. Side effects may include headaches, dry mouth, broken family, stealing from friends, making your mother cry, hating yourself, getting touched in prison, and much more. Results subject to change depending on how junked you are and or get. Please junk responsibly and don't be a snitch.
Young man rumble in the jungle, trees tumble, bees bumble, we humble, yeah. Sling slum, wood, lumber, heaven, brother, sister, brother, freaky fucker, kidney puncher, Willy Wonka, pussy purified, lake, and a talker, yeah. Say I be, J-I-D, say I be, E-S-T, with the R-A-P's, R-I-P, around town, O-L-D, I'm O-L-D, and I ain't dropping O-L-D, O-D, I know O-G, drop low, what's the O-D, I make a play, nigga, O-D-L-B, make a way, get his O-L-C.
And we are back. We are back, and we still have James. He did not run off. I truly believe,
I'm not running anywhere.
He's holding it down. He's in here, and you guys can still call in at 315-954-0688. If you have questions, call in. 315-954-0688. So I'm just going to pick up with this. One of my questions is, it came up about the tickets.
Traffic tickets.
Our current mayor wants to raise prices of the tickets to $500.
$500.
Well, that's another thing, folks. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Sure.
Most of the cameras and to me, and I travel a lot, is in the poorer parts of the cities. Is literally ripping cars from homes and things of that nature. Is it a plan? And then also, I also seen on the news that we can't find the money. A lot of money that is being recouped from the tickets. Where's the money going?
Well, I will say this, B, that's a better question addressed to Muriel Bowser, where she put the money. But let me.
I know, right?
Let me say this, folks. Let's cut through everything, Amos. When you leave a mayor that believes she has unchecked power and that she's sailing on her way to re-election, those are the things that happens. She believes with Initiative 77, the voters vote this, I can overturn it. She believes, okay, I don't care. I'll raise the tickets to $500 and you can't question me about where the other money went for the tickets. I mean, that's what happens when you've got someone that believes or that becomes drunk on power. I believe she believes she doesn't have any competition and that she's going to be reelected, so she doesn't have to answer to the people, and $500 tickets are acceptable no matter what. I'll tell you this, what I look at them as a direct tax on the poor. Not only the neighborhoods they're in, $500. You're late with the $500 ticket.
It doubles.
It doubles. That's many people's, the bulk of their mortgage or their rent. Come on.
All of it.
Let's think about this stuff. Let's think about this. When you go to choose a leader, you need to ask yourself, is more of the same what you want? And if it isn't, do something about it. Simple. Do something about it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that Muriel Bowser has been a good mayor for the city?
No.
And why do you think that?
Because I think Muriel Bowser, the bulk of her campaign money comes from big businesses and developers and special interests. You can trace the money just by looking at the Office of Campaign Finance. And if you look at that, people don't give you money for nothing. And I believe you've seen, and most of our viewers and listeners would agree with me, that you've seen big business and developers write the narrative in this city. In fact, there are over 150 cranes in the city right now.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to development. What I am opposed to is non-inclusive development that equates to gentrification.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm fighting so hard.
Absolutely.
Now, so for all the naysayers, if you want more gentrification, suit yourself. Vote for Muriel Bowser, and you'll get it. I guarantee you'll get it, probably to the extent that you're no longer in the city for many people.
Okay.
Those are facts. Those are, I have to be raw with my delivery
It's okay.
here because we're a short ways away. And if we're still getting naysayers that don't see what's going on, sometimes you need to be direct with it.
Absolutely.
This is what's going to happen. 4 more years. You might still be here, but I can guarantee you many people won't.
We can't afford.
I'm sorry.
We can't afford.
I'm sorry.
to live
Many
in the
people
city.
won't.
We have to leave. We can't. I mean, if you doing something, you really can't afford. You either gonna live real poor, but you to be middle class and African American, and it's hard.
And let me expound further. So no, I do believe that Muriel Bowser is not good for this city, has hurt the city, has hurt the bottom quarter of earners in the city. And I think Muriel Bowser hasn't pushed for a modernized rent control bill simply because why would you hurt the people or slap the hand that feeds you, so to speak? All of these developers, from Douglas Development to Fort Myers and all the big ones, the reality is this: they give their money to the mayor, and they have had their way in this city. Quite frankly, rent control will put a cap on what the for-profit developers will be able to charge. My first 100 days, I will put a modernized piece of rent control legislation on DC Council desk. In addition to that, we talk about affordable housing, and I wish we would end the narrative of affordable housing, because if any of you know, it's an oxymoron or a misnomer. It really is not affordable at all. Because of this formula called AMI, or Area Median Income. That's set by the feds. Now, when you factor AMI, we take Montgomery County in, we factor in Fairfax County, Arlington County, and all of the surrounding counties. And what it does, it brings up the median income to about $110,000. What that does, now even if you're paying 60% of AMI, it still makes the unit unaffordable for the average person. What we need in exchange for our tax breaks to these for-profit developers is more income-based housing with educational and vocational strings attached. What that will look like is this: that whether you make $0 or $12,000 or $35,000 a year, you get housing based on that, because otherwise you'll be, one, pushed out of the district, or if you're making $0, rendered homeless. How do we stop gentrification, people ask me? We put plans like that in place. In addition to that, I think Muriel Bowser dropped the ball when it came to homelessness. She proposed homeless shelters in all 8 wards in 2015. That plan was nixed when Mary Che brought it to DC Council's attention that Muriel Bowser was once again engaged in pay-to-play politics. All of these sites were owned by people that donated to her campaign massive amounts and were on a trip to China with her. So the reality is we have to end the corruption, people. We've got to end it. If nothing else, that's a reason to end this culture of corruption in D.C. And she could have done and had DC General a replacement for it, a dignified and adequate replacement for DC General years ago. But you know why now we're stuck in this? Where do we put the people in DC General? It's because she failed to act when she had the opportunity. Prior to that, on her 7 years as DC Council, she headed up the Housing Board. She could have acted on DC General when Relisha Rudd was killed or became missing there. She could have acted. But she failed to act because she put money over the interest of the people.
Okay.
I got a question for you. And so let's say you do become mayor. You are now the mayor of Washington, D.C. How do you plan to interact or have any type of dealings with President Trump?
So I really do believe we need a mayor that will stand up to President Trump, but also realizing that 45 is the president at the time. And I believe it takes someone with a finesse and certainly someone with the ability to have innately some level of diplomacy. And we will act in a dignified way, but at the same time, we will continue to push for things and hopefully the balance of Congress changes over the next little bit, like DC statehood. But we're going to do it in a fair and I think intelligent approach. I don't believe DC will get statehood, for example, unless we come as a package deal. What I mean by that is DC, I think, should stop pushing for statehood in a singular fashion. We should push for it as a duo. Meaning we bring in another jurisdiction that's of similar size that can bring in 2 senators, of course, and then a comparable level of congressional people. Maybe it's Guam. But a Republican jurisdiction comes in with D.C. that's predominantly Democrat, and we balance the power out. That is a more palatable thing and much more likely to gain congressional approval. And so I believe in pragmatic and yet intelligent government. And I believe the only way DC will get statehood is through that mechanism.
Okay.
So the second part of that is when we talk about DC being a sanctuary city and those things where we're not going to, enforce federal law, we should say it and mean it. Even with our marijuana laws, if the feds want to come in and start now hurting people over their marijuana usage, we're not going to let them enforce the law in that regard. DC will enforce its local laws, but yet we're going to have to keep the president in check when it comes to those sorts of things. And I promise you, I'll stand up to anyone. I don't care who they are. I'll stand up to anyone if it's right.
Okay.
I want to, because we're going to start winding down a bit, but I want to definitely ask questions about the schools, the schools in the district. I wanted to get there before, we start closing it out and telling people where to find you, because I do have a young daughter who's in the district and, go to school there. So
you have a mini you.
Yeah. So what's the plan for DC schools and growing education, getting some of the craftsmanship back into schools? I'm not that old,
I'm sure.
But but what a lot of back when my parents used to go to school, they used to go to school and learn a craft.
Right.
Vocational
trade.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
trade. Yeah, and it's just I witnessed my niece. She just graduated and she didn't quite know what she wanted to do. Again, a product of the Southeast environment. A really good kid. But she's stuck in this transition because she didn't really get really a skill from school that she can maybe carry with her, or what can we do to kind of make it relatable to real life?
And are we losing public schools to charters?
We are. And let me answer your question more easily, Boots. I plan to put a moratorium on charter schools. I quite frankly, and I wouldn't do this without public input first. And I say this only because these public dollars going to these private entities, I believe it's unfair, and I believe it takes these public dollars, tax dollars, from us enhancing our public schools. Now to a more complex question, I know where I was at Baloo's homecoming this past weekend and past Friday, and are you a Baloo girl?
I'm a Baloo
girl. Okay, yes.
Class of 2000 and such and such.
2000 and such and such. I like that. Well, I'd be doing 1990 such and such. Yeah,
me too.
But I couldn't help but to think, about what happened there, the scandal, that our kids are getting sent out to the world ill-prepared for the world. Now, D.C. schools were just ranked, and they were ranked number 45 in the nation. I mean, we're the nation's capital of America, the United States of America. We can be the template for the world if we do it right. But right now, we're lagging behind when it comes to education. You will lag behind as a nation if your education system falls behind. I mean, that's just the reality of it. From a starting standpoint, we believe, and we've emphasized on our website at every public forum that I've spoken at in my candidacy for mayor over the last 14 months, and every debate I've mentioned this, that we need to bring back vocational programs. We will bring back vocational programs in our schools. I'm old enough to remember them. If you're 40 and above, you can remember vocational programs. But in addition to that, I believe we need to educate parents at the same time. So and I say this in this manner, we will have an after-school program starting in the junior high that parents can go to so that they can navigate the channels and avenues of how you get your kids into college or how you get your kids in a vocational program or what little Jane or Johnny is more likely to want to do. Yeah, I mean, and that might be a little bit of exposures and internships.
Yeah, we definitely can't put everything on the politicians and things of that nature. It's time for us to be inside our homes and
absolutely.
And taking a stand, and showing our kids how important education is. That was just one of the questions because, it's very important to me. That's something that I just love.
That's a very
and I'm
important
looking
question.
to start, just mentorship and going into school and taking my podcast everywhere and just, we having those tough conversations, but we need to get back to the kids and we need to do it while they're in school.
Absolutely.
Because even if they make it out of school, it's like, what's next?
Yeah.
If they're not, they just barely made it out of school and, they don't feel confident about college or you have to go to the military. And so we need to really focus on the generations that's coming up.
You are 100%
You know, so
right. Yeah.
we talking about crime. It's just like we're not giving them anything to do.
Right, you gotta
because
give them
when
something
I
to
was
do.
coming up, you know, I had the after school activities. I played basketball. I played everything costs money. You barely, you know, everything is going in rent. I mean, so
That's for
it's
sure.
just like
She's so
you
right.
can't really afford to do, you know, to do some of the things that you want to do with your kids, and then before you know it, you're just like, oh, go outside, you know. Go outside,
Right,
you know,
right,
and is
exactly.
that even safe? So it was very important to ask that question.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
Can
for
I
you
add
coming.
just a little more?
Definitely.
Just a
Go
little
ahead.
bit.
We can go all day.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
want to talk that we also need an open discussion with all the stakeholders with regards to mayoral divestiture from control of our school board. So I'm very open to having a discussion with parents, students, teachers, administrators, and the public at large with regards to divestiture of mayoral control into an independent school board. We've seen through Mario Bowser's administration that either it's an administrator, a chancellor lying, or cheating, or him saying that the
everyone
mayor
else.
owes, or it's kids getting pushed out when they haven't made the grades or attended. I believe we have corrupted a system that could have worked, but I think we now know it doesn't work. So we're really open to having that discussion. The mayor's office has a lot to do already. It loses nothing by allowing an independent school board made up of, say, some educators, some teachers, but yet also independently elected members of the public at large. So I'm not saying this is what we're going to do. So I want you to be very clear about that. I'm saying this is something that we are open to a discussion. Yeah.
What about the city's infrastructure, like the whole 3rd Street Tunnel project, Minnesota Avenue?
Very
Right.
fun.
Like, are those things?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to ask you. Are they ever going to get done? But as
hope.
far as the city's infrastructure as a whole, are roads? A lot of roads are horrible.
That's a good question, Boots.
And when construction does happen, it seems to take forever.
Let me address that here. Look, this is simple. If you can give out millions of dollars in parking tickets. The same people that literally take their little feet and walk down the street and put a ticket on your car will now have the obligation to report the potholes on a daily basis. Simple as that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Simple as that. In our first 100 days, the roads will be smooth.
Yeah, 'cause
They will be
the
smooth.
district is
And it will
one of-
cost us no more to have these people walking down the streets anyways
Yeah.
to report the potholes. It costs us no more. You're driving your Honda Civic or your Prius down the street. Report the
Yeah.
potholes.
Yeah. We got to wrap up.
We are wrapping
Did
up.
we get the signal?
He gave the signal.
The signal. I saw it.
So definitely, I'm grateful. I'm honored that you came and
Absolutely.
you stopped by. Mayor Bowser, the door is always open. I mean, definitely when you get to a certain point, you almost forget the people. So it'll be nice to,
Mario Bowser,
you know,
and anybody else that's running.
Yeah,
I mean,
Muriel Bowser, I'd love to challenge you to a debate.
yeah.
right here on Busy with B.
Yeah, you missed all of the debates. You didn't show up, and I pulled your chair out and told the public, this is how you've been all your mayoral tenure.
DC mayors, people up from they have debates just like everybody.
Yeah, we had several debates.
Okay.
And
okay.
she didn't show up to debate me on any occasion. And that's all too
Wow.
unfortunate. Folks, also, I just want to say this before we go off. On Thursday at 2 p.m., you can listen to me live right in the same neighborhood at WHUR over at Howard University.
Okay,
All
yeah.
right.
So tell everyone where they can find you on the web and
Social
all that good
media, all
stuff,
that good.
Appreciate that.
where you may be and all that good stuff. This is
What's
your time
your
to shine.
social media? If you
Social-
have,
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me
Instagram
give
or
that to
whatever.
you. So our website is Butler, the word for, FOR, mayor.com. That's butlerformayor.com. Instagram, you can follow us at Butler, the numeral 4, mayor.com. And our Facebook, you can get right onto our page at butlerformayor.com. Just hit the Facebook icon and send me a request, and I promise I'll accept you in short order. If you want to help contribute to our campaign, you can do so by getting on our website, hitting the yellow donate button at the top. You can do that in about 30 seconds. In addition, you can Cash App us money with the dollar symbol, James Butler for Mayor. That's the dollar symbol, James Butler for Mayor. Get on our website, butlerformayor.com. I really want to thank you all. I will be the mayor for all, but a champion for the underserved and the underrepresented in this city.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Did you want to plug your social media, B?
Definitely,
I got
definitely.
something I wanna
So
plug.
I started my Buzy with B Facebook page. I do appreciate you guys accepting that invite, but guess what? I'm starting a YouTube page, so I need you guys to subscribe to YouTube for me. I'm trying to, I'm learning the ropes with the whole YouTube thing, so I don't have any subscribers right now. So when you guys see that request, I'm going to put that link on my Facebook. Hit that link, subscribe, so we can, we can definitely go viral.
And I just want to quickly shout out my other endeavor, 9 Entertainment. We have a day party. I know this is completely different from what we've been talking about. But we do have a day party that's coming up this Sunday at the Prospect right on U Street this Sunday from 3 to 8. And you can find out information about that, information about Buzy with B. I'll probably post some information about yourself as well on my Facebook page, Calvin Billy Boots, or on my Instagram, Boots292.
And remember, guys, I look for entrepreneurs. This show is open for you guys to come on, tell your story. Let's get in the community. I do have a mental health show coming up at the end of this month. We will be touching on domestic violence, November the 1st. So if you have them stories, inbox me and, we get on air. Let's tell our stories. Let's speak. And, of course, I'll have a professional here, a therapist, and input. I'll be sharing my story. I have experienced domestic violence. I think it's generational. But, again, we will get into all of that. No judgment here on the Buzy with B. Again, I'll see you every Monday, each and every Monday, right here at Listen Vision Live with my guest host, Boots. I'm still trying to fill that seat, guys, but it's all good. See you next Monday. Peace.